Hello and welcome to Good Morning Vibrations, the format of the new digital TV channel of the German-speaking issue of Forbes. My name is Andrea Gläsemann, I'm senior editor and I'm happy to start the day with you. Under the theme, The Morning Makes the Day, Diversity Makes a Difference, in this format I meet a lot of different personalities, talk about their career, what makes them successful and what can we learn from them. So today it's absolutely a pleasure and I'm really excited to welcome Wies Bratby. Wies is CEO at Women in Negotiation, and there she helps women across the world to realize their worth, communicate it, and get them what they want. Also, she is president at Lean in Switzerland, a community of professional women who support each other in building a successful and fulfilling career. So today, we are going to talk about how to turn a crisis into a chance and how to negotiate till you get what you want. So hello, Wies, it's absolutely a pleasure to welcome you today.
Good morning, Andrea. It's super nice to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
So before we start, I would like to mention that everyone who is watching right now can ask questions at any time during the sessions. And at the end of the session, we will discuss them. And I will also ask you the questions the community sent us in yesterday. So Wies, last week I had two guests and I asked them if they have a certain morning routine, because there's the common opinion that successful people have a certain routine. And I would like to ask you if you have a certain morning routine.
So here's the difference between theory and practice, right? I have a very good morning routine and very set. It's like every 5 minutes increments kind of. In reality, I don't always stick to it, right? There are mornings when it's much nicer staying in bed with my daughters cuddling and getting coffee for my husband, if I can just put that out there. And then there are days when I'm really good with the morning routine, in which case the ideal is that I go for a swim in the lake just outside here. So we're talking summer, huh? Ideal scenario, summer. And I do that. One part that's really important for my morning routine that I do stick to quite religiously is my brag book. I talk to my clients a lot about that. It's a notebook in which I keep all of the kind of compliments and all the things I did well the day before, right? Usually at 6 a.m. I haven't really done much that is worth mentioning. So it's the day before and I write all of that down, and it's a confidence builder that over time really changes, kind of rewires your brain and starts focuses you on the good things that you're doing. So I'm really quite religious about that because doing that consistently really makes a difference. Yeah.
And as far as I know, almost 3 years ago, you lied in hospital and you barely survived. And but in this traumatic experience, there lies the foundation of your career. So what I would like to know is what happened and how did you turn a crisis into a chance?
Yeah, you're making it sound very dramatic. It was a little bit dramatic, but it was also, I mean, what happened was that I had a stomach pain for quite a while, but then you get that, right? As a woman, you get that. So I wasn't really interested in it. And then suddenly it got so bad that I didn't know what to do. Went to the doctor. She like pushed that big red button. It was like, you're going to the hospital now. And it was quite horrific. So rushed to the hospital and found out I had a perforated colon, which is super unattractive. Basically your colon opens up into your body, and that's, you know, sepsis and all kinds of horribleness start then. So that wasn't good. Fortunately, I survived, which was very nice. And the reason why I use that phrase of crisis as a chance, it's a phrase I've heard my entire life. My mom was a social worker, and I think it was some kind of book in the Netherlands back in the 70s. But what ended up happening was that recuperating from that episode and getting healthy again took a very long time. So for a couple of months, I was lying in bed, very bored. And I realized that I needed to change my life around. Because if I were to go back to kind of the rat race that I was stepping out of, I had a job as a lawyer at this large firm. And so, it was very busy and very taxing. And there was a lot of travel involved, et cetera, et cetera. I had my family. And I realized that the reason probably why I got the perforation was stress. And so I thought, if I go back to that life, and nothing changes, I'm going to get stressed again. And the doctor had warned me, you need to make, something's got to give, right? Because otherwise I'm going to see you back here in 6 months and we might not be in time that time, right? So I realized I needed to change things at a fundamental level. and thought about what I wanted to do. And that's when I decided to, sorry for that. I decided to go for, a fundamental career change, basically. So instead of going back to the office and hoping for the best there, I instead decided to start my own business so that I would be in charge of my everyday, basically, that I would be doing, I would be able to, shape my days the way that would work for me. More importantly, in that moment, I realized life is really freaking short. And I say that to my clients all the time, and I really mean it. And that was that profound realization of, if I don't do what I'm meant to be doing right now, I mean, when am I going to? I don't want to regret on my deathbed not having done what I'm put on this earth to do, right? And so, yeah, that's why I changed everything.
What would you say? Is there a specific mindset, or are there some specific skills needed to really be able to turn a crisis into a chance?
I think skills needed to, I think you've got to be willing to be honest with yourself. I think that's the main thing. You've got to be willing to be honest with yourself, and you've got to be a little bit brave to take decisions that might not be popular. I mean, obviously, I wasn't very popular here at home when I decided to chuck in a fairly, well rewarded and safe future as a lawyer, or at least in that field, for entrepreneurship. Right. And so that it wasn't a given that the people around me who, out of their love for me, right, wanted to keep me safe, wanted to keep, things well. And so I think first being honest with yourself, and then actually be willing to take decisions that might not be very popular around you, are things that you need to do. Yeah. And it's really easy looking back now and going, oh my goodness, oh, it was all one big success. And oh my goodness, my life is so much better. Our lives are so much better. It's easy now. But at the time, obviously, that wasn't a given. That wasn't sure. So there's definitely a leap of faith and a bit of courage, that you need to bring in order, I guess, to make these profound decisions.
Mm-hmm. And now you're a CEO at Women in Negotiation. And I would like to know, why did you decide to offer your coaching specifically for women?
Oh, well, the story there is that I'd been traveling around the world in my job as a legal counsel and HR director for the company that I used to work at. And I would have meetings, and then I would organize negotiation sessions around it, because that was the one thing I knew about, right? So as a HR director, I kind of felt like, training, right? Developing people. I could develop them in this sense. And what I found was that after all these meetings, and it really didn't matter where I was, whether I was in, Vietnam or Shanghai or Indonesia, or here in Europe, also in London and in Stockholm and here in Zurich and Lucerne, we were, it didn't matter. I always had, after every session, I had women around me that would all tell me the same thing, which is, this is so important. And I'm really, really terrible at it. It was everywhere. It was a global phenomenon. So I started digging into the research and into kind of like the facts of like, okay, is this just my anecdotal experience? Am I talking to a subset of humanity that, has this particular issue, or is this a wider phenomenon? And it turned out that this is a problem. So negotiating is a problem for women. We are raised differently from boys. And so being assertive, speaking up for yourself, asking for your worth are all really freaking scary, right? And so we don't do it. And so I realized that there was a really big need there, which, meant that I felt that was, these are my women, these are my people, this is, what I'm supposed to be doing. There's plenty of negotiation advice out there. I mean, there are books and, studies, and there's all kinds of things, but there's not a lot that really focuses on women. And so I thought, this is my people, this is what I need to do. Basically, yeah. And I'm also a raging feminist, so obviously that was part of the whole equation. But really, I just saw the need most specifically there for women. Yeah.
So let's be more concrete. Assuming I'm having a situation where I know, okay, I'm going to have to negotiate. My first question would be how to prepare and how to act in the situation to get what I want.
You're now asking for this, right? And I get what, a minute or so to answer. I love you. Okay, let's see. Well, you're asking how to prepare. I'm just super happy that you're bringing up the importance of preparation, right? It is so freaking important, and so many people just skip this whole part. And so they walk into the room and they're like, I'm just going to wing it. I'm just going to do it. We'll just see what happens. And it's the worst. So yes, thank you. Preparation is absolutely key. How to prepare? What I tell my clients always is bring the data, not the drama, right? So do your research. If we're talking career negotiation here, right? Specifically career negotiation, I want you to not walk in and go, well, my sister's dog's boyfriend's making, this much more money, so I should be making more money. Like anecdotal pieces. I'm not interested as your manager in these, one or two other people that you have. So I want an overwhelming set of data, which is fortunately these days possible. So there are all these websites where you can find out what is somebody in your job, in your location, in your industry, right? Maybe even company sometimes, what should they get paid? You get a range. So do that research. Also do ask around, right? Recruiters, headhunters, people have ideas. People know about this stuff. You're not the first person in your job. This has happened before, right? People have insights. So get those insights, really get those insights. When you can do that, when you have that information, it will be much easier in the conversation to focus on that data, right? Rather than, I'm unhappy, I don't like it here, you're not paying me enough, right? Which are really horrific conversations to have, just the kind of moany ones. And instead you can just go, this is what it is. Like, this is what it's telling me. You're not paying me that isn't working for me. Let's have a conversation, right, around that. So I would say that. And then in the conversation, first bring the data, right, not the drama. But then the other thing that I think people completely overlook is the importance of not focusing on you, but focusing on the other side. And that's something that I have found time and time again really phases people. But if you think about it, people care about themselves ultimately. Right? They, of course, they have, they're humans and they care about other people, there's connection, etc. But people care about themselves. And if you work with that, so rather than fighting that, right, and kind of willing them into caring about you for, in whatever way you want to do that, but really getting them instead to do what they do most, which is care about themselves, and you leaning into that and working with that and really getting super curious about how you can serve them, how you can help them, what you can do for them to solve their problems, right? And then not forgetting about yourself, of course, but then you will find a much more receptive audience than if you're just pushing through something and giving them yet another problem that, they have to solve in that moment. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And now, because unfortunately we are running out of time, I would like to ask you the question from the audience.
Okay, wonderful.
Let me check on that. The first one. How can you stay positive and keep going after being turned down?
After rejection for a job, yeah. First of all, don't take it personally. Right? It's not personal, it's business. I get a lot of women who come to me and they say, well, I applied for 3 jobs and I didn't even get a response, right? Or I applied and I got a no. And then that's the end of the world for them. And I'm like, it's just business, people. It's nothing personal. It is a numbers game, so work with that. How can you stay positive? I always allow my clients 20 minutes of mourning, right? 20 minutes of crying, 20 minutes of being angry, 20 minutes of being frustrated, and then frickin' take action. Because all that energy that you waste on feeling really sorry for yourself and being really unhappy or really sad or whatever it is, isn't going to get you anywhere. So after your little period of, being sad, get going, get into action. So the antidote to fear is action. So do something that will get you further again. So really look at the conversation. What could I improve on? And then improve on that. If you couldn't improve on anything, again, repeating, it's nothing personal, then it wasn't meant to be, right? And so I would say stay in action and don't wallow in it and keep going. basically. It's a numbers game ultimately. So I think it really helps to realize that.
Yeah. And I have a second one. How to become more confident in negotiating?
Well, I think that the question there is, how should I be more confident in general? And there's a lot of different ways in which you can do that. I mentioned one at the very start, right? The brag book. It's made a tremendous difference in me. So what this whole idea is that we as human beings, evolutionary speaking, we are focused on what we need to improve on, right? So that's how we got better. That's how we left caves and are now in fancy houses, right? So we always, as people, focus on what could I do better, right? So we've done a fantastic presentation. 10 things went well. One thing didn't go well. What do we focus on? The thing that didn't go well. But that's obviously not helping you when you need to be confident, right? So you need to start focusing on those 10 or 9 or whatever things that went well, right? And my best advice in doing that, and it's so simplistic, it's so easy that I'm always a little bit embarrassed sharing it, because people are like, really? Like, this is the difference? And it's like, yeah, this is the difference. So the brag book means that every day you spend a couple of minutes, all it takes is 5-10 minutes, to write down the things you did well. So the compliments you receive, but also the things you know yourself you did well. Nothing is too small, nothing is too big. You put it in there, and then you reread it every day as well. And that, doing that consistently, I have found profoundly changes the way you feel about yourself, right? You're retraining your brain to not focus on what you did wrong, but on what you did well. And basically what that ends up doing is that as you go through your day, right? If you do this consistently, you really make it a habit. As you go through your day, your brain is kind of scanning the world for things that you did well, right? Rather than how you buggered up. And that I have found to be the biggest differentiator in confidence, both in myself and for all of my clients and for people that I convinced to do this. It sounds super simple. It is super simple. The effects are tremendous, though.
So thank you, Wies, very much for sharing your insights and your advice. It was absolutely a pleasure having you here. And I hope you guys out there enjoyed it as much as I did. And I hope you will join again tomorrow at 9:30. My next guest will be Mai Chen. She is Managing Director at Chen Palmer, one of the New Zealand's first public law firms, which she co-founded together with the former Prime Minister, Sir Geoffrey Palmer. She also founded the organization Super Diverse Women, and she sits on the board of directors at the Bank of New Zealand. And she's absolutely amazing. We will talk about diversity as a key factor for success in economy and society, and how to establish a business, make it running on its own so you can establish one more business. I would say tune in or cry later, because she's absolutely amazing. But when you can't wait till tomorrow, I would suggest you join our other formats today. At 11, our publisher Heidi Eichinger will meet Sabine Schnabel. She is CEO and founder of the advisory company BSH Advisors, and they will talk about political communication in times of crisis. At 2 p.m., you can watch my colleague Niklas Hintermeyer. He will talk to Eric Jones, Director of European and Eurasian Studies at Johns Hopkins University. They will talk about economic implications regarding the coronavirus crisis in Europe. And at 4 p.m., you can watch my colleague Chloe Lau. She will talk to Daria. She is an influencer in the fields of fair fashion and sustainability. And they will talk about how to be strong and vulnerable at the same time, and how this can really be beneficial for your career. At 5:30, you can watch our editor-in-chief, Klaus Fiala. He will talk to Hendrik Leber, an investor, about investing. He will ask him what to invest in now and what to keep your hands off. So if you want to make a fortune, I would suggest watching this session. And at 6:30, last but not least, you can watch my colleague Niklas Hintermeyer again. He will talk to the editor from Forbes Argentina about how they deal with the situation in the country and how they navigate through these challenging times. So back to now. Thanks, Wies. Thanks for joining us today. Thank you, well.
Most welcome.
And I'm happy if you join tomorrow. Have a nice day, you all. Bye. See you soon.
Bye.